So I'm here with Rusty Haley, and we're going to be talking about creating an awesome Agile coach resume. And this all started because my resume is terrible, and I saw Rusty's resume, and I think it's fantastic. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Rusty, who are you?
I'm an Agile coach and Scrum Master, and this is my third career of my life. Prior to that, I was in IT management, and prior to that, I was in law enforcement in the military.
And what are you trying to accomplish with your resume?
A combination of project quality and bring the reader's eyes directly to the things I have bolded in my resume, because I know it's going to get skimmed. So I want to take control over what's highlighted. So I use bolding a lot in my resume, certain keywords. And I've gotten good feedback from, you go to job fairs and people look at your resume, and I've gotten good feedback that's a really nice effect, that they appreciate that. So I'll call out key phrases like aligning team members, team success, strengthening relationships, collaborative operations, things of that nature. In the middle of the sentences where I'm using them, I'll just bold those.
Yep. And what is your philosophy of writing your resume?
It would be to give the reader, beyond the technical data that's in the resume, a feel for who I am and where I come from. Give them a sense of some of the humility that I have, and also that I'm proud of my accomplishments and the feedback that I've gotten. Not be too concerned about length. Mine is currently 3 pages. As a matter of fact, I put at the bottom of my last page, I titled it Education, Certifications, and Things I'm Generally Proud of. So I felt that kind of gave it kind of a personal and not necessarily humble, but kind of against the grain, against what people might advise you to do, being all formal and professional looking. I want it to reflect, I don't know if it's softer is a good way of putting it, but a well-rounded or a rounder feel to it, as opposed to the sharp edges of professional terms and acronyms. I wanted some of my personality to come through and show the things that I cared about and was proud of.
And let's just walk through your resume. I've got it here. I want to just focus on this section that you have here called Career Accomplishments. And what's so impressive to me about this is that you've got a lot of quantification of what you have done. So curious to know why you include that and how you actually got those numbers.
Well, I think in most resume counseling sessions, people in those sessions will coach candidates to show results, and that was my way of showing results and being specific with those numbers. Some of those numbers came in the form of hard data, like sales revenue increases, reduction in decision-making time, things of that nature. And some of that came from feedback from fellow coaches and the observations that they had around what kind of effect I was having. I don't know. So that's where some of it came from.
So here's one sentence. Our team delivered a CRM project resulting in a 15% improvement to customer service. So how did you measure customer service, and what does 15% improvement mean?
One way that was measured was a reduction in the number of phone calls that the customer service department had to field. The company that I was working for at the time also sent out annual customer satisfaction surveys that were constructed by a professional, and we pulled that data back in and then broke it out, sent it out to the different departments. This was in a distribution industry. So there were things like customer service, warehousing, delivery, accounting, things like that. So we went out to the customer and surveyed where they were having specific issues, and then broke that out to the different department managers. And we got some comments around over the last year how the customer service had noted significant improvements in their ratings and how the customers felt about the service that they were getting from that department.
And as the Agile coach of that team, how do you decide what percentage of that is due to you?
I don't, because it's not about me. It's about how the team comes together. My job is to help them see things that they're not aware of. I kind of refer to it as see the elephants in the room. Help the Scrum Masters by listening in on their calls, going to their meetings. Really, most of our problems, in my experience, boils down to communications and relationships. And I think we're operating at such a pace in the industry that we've lost sight of some of the basics in communication. I posted recently on LinkedIn a comment that a trend that I was feeling in the number of problems I was dealing with in my last engagement is starting to feel like people were operating so fast that they had lost or forgotten what they had learned in Communications 101 class, like in the 9th grade. And we sit there and we think we know how to communicate, but if you look at how the communication is going on from an outsider, you can see some obvious missing pieces. Things like lack of common understanding, lack of common terminology, lack of definition of terms. In my last engagement, I had a situation where a project manager called me up, wanted some coaching advice for an hour on a conference call about helping her team go agile. And about 45 minutes into that conference call, I heard her working in the computer on the background while I was talking, and I heard her exclaim, "I found it." And I did some questioning around that, and turned out what she found was in the project management software, the box that said Agile, she checked it, and that was what she wanted. That was her definition of an Agile team. And what it meant for her was, in the dynamics of her environment, was that 2 people within her department would get off of her back in regards to the deadlines, because they were now an Agile project. So the lesson that I learned from that was, up front, I might want to inquire what they mean by Agile before I spend 45 minutes on a conference call trying to help them go Agile. And I kind of jokingly said at the end of the call, well, I just want to thank you, because that was the fastest Agile transformation I've ever experienced in my life. But it was an important lesson for me to learn to define terms and get clear about what people mean. And I've had to slow conversations down to the point of parsing individual words. What do you mean by velocity? What do you mean by story points? And it's given me opportunities to identify situations where people have been undereducated or miseducated, or been abused by a term so much that they have an ill-defined picture of it. And that's presented me with some opportunities to do some education and some training, and help people improve in that regard.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Rusty, for sharing your wisdom about how to put together an Agile coaching resume.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.